Find a comfortable place. It can be sitting or lying down. Align your spine. Stretch your neck by lowering your chin. Rotate your shoulders back. Align your hips with your shoulders. And now your knees. Observe your posture and adjust what needed. Air nourishes the spirit. Deep breaths are our tool to nourish the soul, oxygenate the blood, peace the mind. A deep breath consists of 3 moments. 1. When inhaling, we send the air to the navel with the intention of expanding the abdomen, and at the same time, in an opposing movement, the navel contracts. 2. The air reaches the ribs, expanding them. 3. The air expands the chest and collarbones. These 3 moments articulate, creating a unity, the deep breath. Now, let's breathe deeply, visualizing that the air we inhale is a brilliant, liquid white light. Inhale. The air reaches the abdomen, ribs, chest, and collarbones. Exhale. Inhale again. Abdomen, ribs, chest, and collarbones. Exhale and let go of everything we no longer need. Now, let's visualize the stars and their movements. The new moon occurs at 24 degrees in Gemini, with Uranus at 2 degrees in Gemini, very close to Ceres at 7 degrees. Gemini, an air sign, mental, enigmatic, dynamic, dual, evokes the earthly in contrast to the spiritual, the mortal with the divine or eternal. Uranus and Ceres at 5 degrees create a fertile ground for ideas. How can we express the power of the divine and the eternal in a tangible and mundane aspects of our lives? How can we express the spirit through our simple daily work? Work that, besides being simple, can be full of creativity and versatility. From the mental energy of Gemini, we bring forth ideas for change. And step by step, we transmutate them into the tangible, revolutionizing our lives and the world we inhabit. Uranus is the apex of a triangle where it is in square aspect with the south node in Virgo and the north node in Pisces. How can we move beyond Virgo's meticulousness and attention to detail to reach the spiritual heights of Pisces with inventive, creative, and innovating energy? Where spirituality is detached from the idea of sacrifice. Can we realize that sacrifice isn't required to achieve our goals? And allow ourselves to be surprised, understanding that achievements aren't fixed like objects we accumulate, but are often unexpected events we hadn't imagined. Let's free our minds with this observation. Can we envision a life without sacrifices and precisely because of this spiritual? Where the mundane and the divine form the dialectic that grounds even the most extravagant ideas in simplicity. Inventions, discoveries, paradigm shifts, outfits, looks. The mundane evoking the spiritual, and the spiritual elevating and exalting the senses. Understanding that in the end, everything is one, and that dividing reality has brought consequences of imbalance, chaos, and ignorance. Uranus, with its electricity, apex in this triangle with the lunar nodes, transmutates the meaning of the spiritual, fertilizing the ground where Ceres seeds the new paradigm, where work will no longer be a sacrifice or exhaustion, but quite the opposite, exciting and nourishing for the soul. Thus, the earthly and the spiritual manifest in simplicity. Venus is currently entering Leo, and we continue exploring the nature of love, starting with self-love. With Venus in Leo, let's think about cats. They don't do anything out of obligation. They are where they want to be, and have no qualms about lashing out when something bothers them. But that doesn't stop them from caring and protecting those to whom they choose to give their loyalty. Other cats, humans, and even dogs, because yes, dogs and cats form friendships too. Some call cats selfish, but let's think about it. Isn't selfish to ask those we love to put themselves aside to show us their love? How do we differentiate care and reciprocity from sacrifice and codependency? Pluto retrograding at this new moon is in exact opposition to Venus, forming the base of an opposition and square triangle with Chiron in Aries, at the apex of this configuration. We continue to observe the wounds of the ego, wounds resulting from our ways of relating, for our forms of love or lack thereof. With Juno so close to Pluto, these are wounds where we have felt betrayed, undervalued, jealous, comparing ourselves to someone or some ideal. Perhaps because we observed these beliefs in childhood, where we had to behave a certain way to be loved or deliver certain results to be recognized and appreciated. And in this transaction, what was left out were our desires, talents, our nature, and authenticity. Slowly assimilating that stepping aside is what is required to love and be loved. Chiron helps us see these wounds. Let's observe them without judgment. What do they cause? Pain, frustration, anger, fear? We don't resist these emotions. We give them space to occur. We can observe them without judgment, like a fire that ignites and, like all fires, will eventually go out. And we can ask ourselves, can we let go of someone who doesn't choose me? If I'm with someone who betrays me, whose responsibility is it? Theirs or mine for not making the decision to leave. We can learn from cats and let loose when necessary, leave places where we're uncomfortable, and take care of ourselves and treat ourselves kindly. If someone isn't reciprocating, let them go so that empty spaces can be filled by others who are on the same wavelength, seeking care and love without sacrifice. Today's new moon allows us to observe these dynamics and the wounds they inflicted, while also encouraging the necessary transformation of our relationships, beginning with the one we have with ourselves. An era is ending and a new one is beginning. In this transition, let's separate the wheat from the chaff and take ownership of the narrative of our reality. Mercury in Cancer with Mars in Taurus are the base of a yacht that intersects the new moon in Gemini, making an arrow that points to Lilith in Sagittarius. So, let's begin the dialogue. Let's bring to the table those truths we have banished because they confront us. Lilith in Sagittarius presents them to us in an elegant, sophisticated, and practical way. Mars in Taurus, the warrior who defends what is ours. Mercury in Cancer, giving voice to our home. Both pointing to the visionary Lilith in Sagittarius. What do we need to talk regarding the truths of our home and what is rightfully ours? For example, how is it possible that in this world where technology advances and plays a leading role, there are increasingly more homeless people living marginalized on the streets as outcasts of a system that doesn't consider housing and services as human rights? When most people have to spend most of their time working to meet these basic needs, what available energy do they have for personal development, to create, to make space for their vocation and passions? Can we see that in this sense, time is not linear and that being avant-garde doesn't always have to do with what's to come in technology and inventions, but rather with being able to look back and see what we've left behind? Being avant-garde can mean starting to think that we, as a collective, deserve to live in a world where no one lacks a home. It means ceasing to pay attention to artificial and imposed narratives about what will happen to the world and where humanity is headed. In order to listen, to give space to authentic ideas that are not the product of social engineering. What would be more spiritual than understanding that material things aren't something we have to sacrifice ourselves for? Rather, they are simply an intrinsic right of existing on this plane, a tool to shape and experience reality. And of course, on this path, Gemini's flexibility and versatility, which unite the earthly with the eternal, help us avoid creating a dichotomy between technology and nature. Instead, fostering a relationship of technology in harmony with nature and at the service of the highest and most spiritual human rights, which are as simple as imagining a humanity where no one is without a home. Remember, Seeds grow in the dark. Don't share your plans. Share only your results. Each of us transforming our personal world organically and harmoniously will end up transforming the world. The revolution is inside. Wars are archaic and primitive. We breathe deeply. Visualizing the air we inhale is as a liquid star. We fill ourselves with tranquility, harmony, and wisdom. And as we exhale, we let go of everything we no longer need. Regarding new moon. Thank you for listening. Blessings. And thank you so much for your donations.